So yeah, the plan is tear the whole engine down, split the cases, and take the crankshaft out and take it to the shop. Switching back to body cam. So first thing to do to split these cases, we'll be taking off the flywheel. Having an impact in that case can be really helpful. If not, then what I advise first to be careful, but if it's not too tight, you could stick a screwdriver in here or some other tools to hold it in position so you can loosen the nut. But it's pretty dangerous. If you mess up your ignition, then yeah, that's a lot worse. So having an impact is really helpful. And just like that, it's off. And now, if you're lucky, it's loose, but it's not. So you can either use a puller with some claws, but that's also pretty dangerous. I actually bought a set of flywheel pullers like this a long time ago. If you have a couple of bikes from a couple of different brands, this thing is worth its weight in gold. You have all the different treads, sizes and pitches for all different kind of flywheels. This is actually a reverse thread. There we go. This one is not that tight because it has been in and out when we changed the ignition a couple of times. Yeah, reverse. Benefit of these magnets, can't lose your bolts and nuts. Put it aside. These ignitions actually have no pre-ignition, as we'd like to call them. Some type of bikes have a pre-ignition system which you can rotate the entire ignition base plate, and that also adjusts the timing a bit. But these are fixed, which is easy, so you don't have to mark them. Can't mess it up when you remount them. And that's the ignition. Put it aside. That's this side pretty much done. Basically, remove all screws. Don't forget to drain the oil before you take the cover off. Otherwise it's a bit messy. Ask me how I know. Let's start by removing the clutch. So this is basically same clutch as with the FS1. Just I think it's a triple or it's a double plate. Not quite sure. There we go. Just going to install these here so I don't lose them. That's a good tip I can give to you. If you're taking something apart, put the screws or nuts or bolts or whatever back in their place so you don't lose them, and so you can remember how everything went back together. This is the little pusher to open the clutch. Actually, this is now a good time to take the pin and the ball out. So as you can see, if you push this one goes out. So push the pin in from this side and then push it all the way through from this side. Yeah. So now the hardest part, if you don't have an impact, taking this nut off, because this is now connected to the gearbox and can rotate freely. The best thing I can advise you is to take this cover off while it's on the bike, leave the chain and the rear wheel connected, put it into 5th gear, put your wrench on here and push the rear brake. So actually the rear wheel and the rear brake is holding this thing locked, and you can loosen the nut. If you have an impact, it's a bit easier. You could try to hold it or pry it with a screwdriver or anything. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this one. Ow. Yeah, no. Oh, it's already loose. Yeah, so I just held it with my hand. Having an impact that actually shocks the nut is a very good thing. You can see I was able to remove the entire clutch basket. Just for now, I'm going to put the washer and the nut back on. I'm not quite sure if I have to remove these. I probably do. We'll see when we get there. So that's one clutch basket. Quick inspection. Nothing out of the ordinary here. This washer, also important. I'm going to leave the entire assembly like this and put it aside. This is a good point to start taking pictures. That's all pretty easy. The clutch and the ignition is all pretty easy. Here with the shifting mechanism and everything, this could get difficult. If you've split the engine a long time ago, this might get difficult if you come back and rebuild it. First thing, one of the easiest, is taking the kickstarter out. So you loosen the spring here, you take out this white plastic piece that holds or that locks the spring. If I'm able to catch it, or actually, fuck it. You can just take the complete kickstarter assembly out and just leave it like this. That's probably the easiest. And the part supply, these all spin okay. No play. Tiny bit of play. This is the gear for the rev counter. Ooh, that one sounds pretty chunky, and also it's not connected. So either this one is wrong or this one is wrong. I think this one is wrong. It also sounds like absolute garbage. Or it sounds like it's full of garbage, maybe. Next thing, that's also pretty easy, is the shifter mechanism. Take out this C-clip here. God damn it. Whew. Yeah, that happens. I got lucky this time. Put this aside. Push the the shifter lever pusher actuator thingy out of the shifter axle, and then you should be able to just slide this thing off. And there we go. That's the lever for the shift, or the shifter linkage. I'm just going to call it like that. And here you have the actual shifter axle, which is held in place here with another C-clip. Pry it off gently, make sure it doesn't fly to the moon again. A washer. And now you should be able to just pull this thing out. There we go. It's probably a bit dirty in here. Spray it with some WD-40. Why won't you come out? Maybe a little love tap. There we go. Or not. Yeah, another thing, this wheel on here, it's also loosely mounted. Don't lose this one. I'm going to mount the washer and the C-clip back on the axle. Boom. The other C-clip I'm going to push back on to here. So next up is removing this gear, and I think we have to take out the shifter axle as well. And then we can maybe try to take the bolts out from the other side and maybe split the cases. First up is this one. Yes. This one might be a tough one, because here the same case with the output shaft, or the clutch I mean. You have to remove this gear while holding the engine in position. So I'm going to try and put it on the bottom dead center, hold it with my hand and shoot it with the impact. If you don't have an impact, this can be a tough one, and it may be advisable to loosen the nut while the clutch is still on there. And maybe if you have the engine in the bike, you can hold the rear brake. Ow. Ooh, it's a tough one. There we go. The washer. Don't lose this keyway. Let's put these tiny pieces into one of these boxes. You can see here in the drawing, this bearing is probably the one that's going out. So maybe this is held in place with this cover. Let's try loosening the screws on the other side. Maybe it's possible to split the cases with the shifter still in there. So these are the screws that hold the cases together. So let's go ahead and start loosening them. These are probably still the original ones, so they might be extremely tight. So use a proper screwdriver. That's one. Yes. Also a good idea might be trying to heat the block so the aluminium expands, and maybe that way they come loose a bit easier. But so far so good. So far so good. I shouldn't say that. See, I had to say it. It was going good. Immediately fires back. Heat the threaded part, not the actual screw. So hopefully this expands faster than the screw in there, so it's possible to get loose. I'm going to put on my gloves, because if this thing is hot. Come on, please. Yes, there we go. So as I said a couple of minutes ago, things were going easy. That immediately backfired. This one in here stuck, stripped, and these two also stripped. One thing that I always try to, when remove them, is one, weld on a new screw. Just drill a bit of a hole in the old screw and just weld a new one on it, and you can try to remove it with that. This is another trick to do it. Drill a tiny hole, and then in this case I just hammered in a Torx bit, which I never use. I probably only use it for this. Just drill it a bit undersize, and then just hammer a Torx bit in so that the teeth of the Torx bit actually get into the metal, and with this I was able to remove it. Thank God. Hopefully I can recover my Torx bit. If not, screw it. I'll buy another one. So let's see if we can weld on a new one or do the same as here. Make sure it's in there. Now hopefully yes, we got it. Yes, bingo. Put these aside so I know which sizes of bolts I have to get. Do we have them all now? I think so. So now we should be able to split the cases. Let's see. Oh, they're actually not that stuck. Oh, yes. Woo! There we go. Woo. Yes, it's free. Gearbox looks pretty good. No major damage on the teeth of the gears, which is nice. I'm happy I was able to get this whole gearbox in one piece on one side. I'm going to keep it completely like this on this side. Just hold the gearbox if you flip the case because it will be able to fall out. So let's get this seal out first. There we go, nice. So to get this crankshaft out, let's bring up the torch again and heat it up. Maybe we can get the bearing out as well, or that'll probably be what happens. Fire! Woo! I think it's out. Just a couple more. Yeah. Sounds a bit rough. Maybe this is where the metal in the oil is coming from. At least I hope it is. The other one doesn't sound that bad. Off camera, I ended up removing the old bearings out of the crankcases. I got these one for the crank itself and here for the output shaft. So basically what I just did was heat up the aluminium and tap the back of the old bearing with a socket and a hammer. So they came out pretty good, or they came out pretty easy. So all that's left to do now is just clean up the cases a bit more and wait for parts. So hopefully I will be able to make a new video pretty soon. So if you've learned anything from this video on how to tear down an RD50 engine, please leave a like, consider subscribing to check out the video for when we rebuild this thing. That one might also be pretty interesting. So make sure to subscribe and yeah, keep following the build. Thank you for watching. See you on the next time. Bye.